In order to improve, you have to know yourself. I'm Cole. This is my journey of becoming a professional soccer player, building a bootstrap business, and showing my path to self-mastery. I make these videos to help people create their ideal lives. Today's video is focused on catching your bad behaviors. Being aware of your behaviors is one of the most important data points that you can have in self-improvement. If you have something that you want to quit or stop doing, you have to break it down to its core. First, you have to figure out why you are doing that action. If you're just trying to find a solution without trying to really break down what makes you tick, you're essentially shooting in the dark. In order to improve, you have to know what to improve. In order to do this, you have to catch yourself in the act as soon as you recognize that you're doing the bad behavior. Then you have to break down what you were doing that led up to that time. It may have been a few bad things that led up to that one moment that was a final tipping point. It's probably going to be meticulous, and you're going to see the ugly side of breaking yourself down. Everyone takes actions that they're not proud of and would like to change. However, there's a big difference in wanting something to change and actually making it happen. In order to actually make the change happen, you have to go into those not so pretty experiences. You could continue with self-improvement, just trying something new without breaking down what you're actually doing, but you're not going to be able to be the best if you're not going into the details. It's in the details that you can figure out who you are and what makes you tick. If possible, I would recommend to have a friend help you. There might be some triggers that are a lot easier to see from an outside perspective. Having a friend help you break down yourself is also hard because you're going to be very vulnerable, but so you have to find someone you really trust. If you don't have access to someone like that, it's okay. You can still do it yourself, but it will be harder. Once you figure out what you did in order to lead up to the bad action, you have to figure out what micro decisions or actions that was the trigger for that bad action. Not everything that you do is going to lead up to the bad action, but there's probably going to be a few things that led to it. Also, some triggers might not be especially evident. You could have lost focus because you didn't have a proper meal for breakfast, so you were hungry a little bit earlier in the day, thus making you lose focus. It might be a little bit harder to come to that conclusion if you're just looking at the micro decisions and actions 5 minutes before, but if you find that no matter what you're trying or changing with the triggers, that you're still leading into the bad action, it's likely something larger that is leading to that bad action. Once you find what your triggers are, you have to find ways from preventing them from happening. The best way to do this is to not give yourself a choice in the moment. For example, if it's your diet, the best way to go about it is to make a grocery list when you're not hungry of what you're going to eat for the entire week, and only allow yourself to buy stuff on that grocery list from the grocery store. Another example is if you're using a device, but you tend to go on websites or applications that distract you, using screen blockers that lock you out from accessing the website is very helpful. You should give yourself no choice but to do the work. Or if you find that you're being distracted by another device, such as your phone, and you're working on your computer, you can put your phone in a non-visible location. Sometimes when I'm out and I'm doing work, I'll either put my phone in my backpack, or if I'm at home, I'll put it in a completely different part of the house, and I tend to forget about it if it's not in my peripheral vision. I also have my notifications off so nothing pops up and distracts me from my work. Being aware of yourself and who you are is very important in trying to become your ideal self. Now, you're not going to have a perfect idea of who you want to become, as you're not going to have the level of thinking that's required to become that person. However, you can have a rough idea of what the person may think in that time. It's important to have a path from point A to point B. If you already have a rough sketch of what your ideal self is, you should also have an idea of who you are today. Breaking down yourself will help you understand what behaviors and actions that you're taking. In order to improve, you have to be aware of yourself. I hope you got some value from the video, and thank you for watching.